I've got face ache now.
It says pause. Oh, pause recording. So we are recording. So Vivian, I don't know if you do you know Jazz?
No, I don't. We just met about a second ago. Hi, Jazz.
Right.
Hiya.
And so just to give it some context, so Jazz and I did a blog, which is an old-fashioned thing that I did, where actually we spoke on the telephone, and then he and I basically wrote stuff down, and then I basically put that into a written blog. Let me just turn my phone off. Sorry?
It sounds really old-fashioned, but great.
It does sound really old-fashioned, but so one of the things that people kept coming to me about was about the fact that people were using social media, but it was for big companies rather than small companies. And I put a message out on social media that said, anybody that's in a small company that's actually using social selling or social media, come forward and kind of have a chat. And that's when I met with Jazz. Mm-hmm. So Jazz, do you want to just give a background about just your 15-second elevator pitch of what you do?
Well, coming from a business management, business advisor background, I specialize in working with businesses to help them generate leads and new business through social media and online marketing. So in essence, that's what I do.
And what happened was that you actually started, correct me if I'm wrong, you started running a company that was actually doing something, and you were using social media to promote it. And then what happened, people came to you and said, you're using social media so well, can you advise us? And then now you do like social media all the time.
Yeah, that's right. It was one of those things in business where you don't always plan it, but if you listen to the market wanted to engage in a completely different way. So we wanted to go in to help people with marketing plans, business plans, get systems in place. What people wanted, they just wanted to get quick results, and they saw what I was doing on social media, which was really a bit of a hobby for me, that then turned into the entry and engagement point with the business. And from there, 95% of my time now is spent helping people to generate new business leads, network on social media. So it wasn't planned, but we listened to what the market had to say, and now there's a whole new business out of it, really.
And as quite often with businesses, sometimes you start off with thinking you're going to do A, and then it actually moves, you end up doing B. But sometimes that happens. And Vivian, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi. Well, I'm involved in digital marketing in many forms, but I do specialize in social media. It bothers me a lot that people are still using it as a broadcast channel rather than getting involved in true social selling, where being helpful is the most important thing about it. And I think the majority of businesses that I can see are not very good at engaging with their customers, and really listening into the conversations that are going on and joining in as appropriate, and just generally making sure that people are aware of them. And just by helping out, I've had £2,000 worth of business from helping out someone in a LinkedIn group.
Okay.
Where I said, you could do this or this or this or this. I said, oh, that's amazing. Can I have a chat with you? Yes, I said, certainly, whatever you need. And then they said, could you do this for us? And at no time did I say to anybody, I can do this for you. But, when you're actually prepared to kind of spread the love a little bit, and I think when people actually understand the complexity of it, they're not going to nick your ideas, or if they do, they'll start and then say, do you know what, I can't do this.
Able to execute them.
And I'll hand it over to you. So I'm actually involved with quite big businesses and also with startups and mediums, SMEs. So I see it all with the 20,000 budget and the,
And you're an Audrey Hepburn fan as well.
I am an Audrey Hepburn. There she is. She's looking over me. Yeah.
So I had this. So the conversation I had with Jazz, which was around, we went through this, and I'm reading it off a piece of paper because and I want to pick up because you did use a lot of Google Plus in the past.
Yeah.
And we talked about Google Plus and the way it could actually help you from a search perspective.
Yes.
Down, Vivian. It's okay. And that's great, because it's caused a lot of debate, and debate is good, because debate is really good in terms of saying I do this, I do, you know, and then it was really funny, because what happened was I was talking to Jazz, and I said, do you have a programmatic approach? He goes, no. And then we went through actually what he did. He went, actually, I think that's quite programmatic, isn't it? And there was a number of really interesting things about how you took people from different platforms and moved them onto. So you started off on Twitter.
Yeah.
So you ran certain training courses. You basically listened and you found people on Twitter. You then basically nurtured them on, if they didn't convert, you nurtured them on LinkedIn. And really it was a way of driving people to, you'd run a course, and then the course was running a bigger course and stuff like that. Is that still going on with you, or is that still what's happening with you?
The same program approach to it is working, but the outcome is different. To be honest, it was only the other week that we did a series of workshops. I think since we last spoke, we've done very few workshops, because we've had such a demand from clients to go in and manage their whole process, set up all the systems I was talking about, and do all of their marketing. And we've got a new client from a few months ago who's launching an app worldwide. So the demand has changed for us in more applying it and going in, setting up systems and getting the results for clients, which is good. But we are going to be going back to the workshops, but going to be focusing specifically on social selling as a system, and helping people to understand, because most people have got the components, they're just not knowing how to put them together. But yeah, the principles are still the same as what we talked about when we did the blog, but now we're doing that for clients rather than in a workshop environment as the end outcome.
Okay, so I mean, what I often see happen, and I don't know if Vivian, you see this as well, which is where you run a training course and everyone goes, yeah, okay, I get that, and then they go back to the office and they don't do anything.
Exactly.
And it kind of doesn't ever embed, and you're so Jazz, I don't know if that bears it out, which is you end up doing it for them. I don't know why around that, because I kind of, what I would want to do is, it's all about passing on the baton and passing on the skill.
Yeah.
So can I just ask, how would you put the components together to make a social selling sandwich then, Jazz?
Glad you asked that. I was going to come to that.
Sorry.
I feel like I'm sandwiched between both of you here with the question. It all depends, obviously, Vivian, on the background, the company itself.
Yeah.
But what I always try to do is do the audit first. We always do an audit. What do you have in place? Yeah. And then what we need to add to, what do we need to link together? But I mean, the basic components for us in terms of the social selling is, first of all, you've got to have some sort of CRM system so you can capture the data. Secondly, you need to know how to use the platforms in terms of social listening. And thirdly, you've got to be proactive in how you use the platforms and the techniques. And then that comes back full circle to populating your sales funnel through the CRM. So it's those are the three components.
And what platforms are you recommending people have and support? Is it Twitter? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Google Plus? Is it Don't Smoke at the Back? Is it, what is it, Facebook? Or
I think the basic two components for any business is going to be LinkedIn, and for me it's got to be Twitter as well, because those are the two main ones. Then, according to what you want to do, if you want to improve your SEO, to me, you've got to be on Google Plus. You've got to be plugged into the Google environment. And then if you want to get more B2C, then you got to throw in Facebook as well.
Yes.
So it works from there, but LinkedIn and Twitter are the basic two. You then add to according to the business and the markets you want to engage with.
I would just say that you're talking about if you want more B2C, you should use Facebook. But the interesting thing is, for me, I think every B2B interaction is in effect B2C, because we're all customers. And I think businesses are now expecting that we sell to them in the same way as their experiences as customers in the outside world. So I think that some people would say, oh, I sell servers or whatever. How am I going to have a Facebook page with that kind of dry topic? But it's actually finding a way to interact with your potential target audience in a really friendly and slightly left field way, I think. So, you know, I agree with you about Twitter and LinkedIn being your kind of baseline, but so many companies I find are using Instagram and also Pinterest. And of course, even some of the biggest organizations I work for are now tipping into Snapchat to be able to get the target market, say under 35s, you know, which Snapchat has overtaken Twitter anyway. So
I think it's an important point that quite often don't talk about, is about age, and certainly what
let's not talk about age.
And what I'm seeing is that, you know, as you know, in terms of the sales funnel, you kind of need to take into account age as well as well as where you are in the funnel. I mean, if you're a small organization and you're just starting out, my recommendation always would be to focus on probably one or two platforms and get the feel of your voice. I mean, would you agree with that in terms of, you know, understand the platform and understand posting, and then probably branch out? I mean, Pinterest and Snapchat are quite different platforms in the way they work. It's not just about posting text or something like that. It's a, you know, they're very picture and image related. I mean, do you agree with that in terms of you need to focus in and actually learn the voice? You know, if we had at the bottom right hand corner somebody who's from a small business, they weren't doing social right now, what would be the two platforms that you would recommend they would go to? B2B. Question. Jazz.
I would still stick with LinkedIn and Twitter. Those would be the two core ones, and work from there. One of the things is that with social media, people do spread themselves too thin across platforms, and the reason they burn out quickly is they don't have good quality and sufficient content. And especially if you're on Snapchat, Facebook Live, you've got to dedicate a lot of time to it to keep the audience engaged and up to date. So I think you have to start with a couple of platforms, use them well, but also the other key trick, if you move to another platform, you got to.
Is that me or Jazz who's gone?
I think it's Jazz.
Okay, Jazz, you're going Dalek on us. You've now completely stopped.
Put more batteries in.
On what you already have, so you take your audience with you, and then go from there.
Are you back now?
Did we all freeze there? Yeah, I was here all the time. Did I freeze or something? Sorry. You didn't. Okay, right. Yeah, if you start off with a couple of platforms and use them well and build up your following and your presence, then when you add another platform in, such as Snapchat or Instagram, what you can do is you can then take from your current following on other platforms and engage on Instagram or Snapchat, and then tap into those networks to build your following more solidly and more quickly, really. So I think it's better to start off with a couple, use it well, and then go to other platforms with the following rather than start from scratch.
Come back to that. But you're a community builder, aren't you, Jazz? You actually move your people from platform to platform.
Yeah, because to me, the long term, social media is all about community building, and that's just the same as the social selling process. It's about building relationships long term, not immediate short term gains all the time. So yes, it is about building community for sustainability.
In terms of the advice, that if you had somebody from in a small business that was starting from scratch, what would your recommendation be in terms of platform?
Well,
and I'm being generalist, obviously here.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously it depends who you're talking to, but imagine that I sold jewelry, for argument's sake, handmade jewelry, then I would say Pinterest and Instagram are the places.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, so I mean, I think that we can't set that in stone. I mean, obviously, I can't live without Twitter and LinkedIn personally, but I wouldn't necessarily make that my advice to absolutely everybody. I think my couple of observations I'd make is that, first of all, in terms of social selling, there's some missing components. People say to me, "Hi, Vivian, great to connect with you. Would you like my free book?" Now, for me, or you have, "Thanks for following me on Twitter, link in on LinkedIn."
Yeah.
Why would I? You know, it's like meeting somebody at a party and then they say immediately, "Would you like to come out the back with me?"
It is like that, yes.
So I might later, I might have a few drinks with you, I might get to know you, what have you, but not at this moment. And I feel that there's that missing segment that I think is really quite annoying. And the other thing is when people think they can execute the same strategy across multiple platforms. And I think you're almost better to have social media managers, separate ones for different things. So Pinterest manager would be probably quite different to what you were doing on Facebook and obviously on LinkedIn. So I think they were the two things that I would advise people on, is very much try the platforms and see which one really work for you. Follow other people who are doing what you do and in your niche, and see how they're doing it, and see who's doing it the most successfully and on which platform. And then when you make your decision, I mean, people balk at the cost of social media, and, you know, we're still living with that legacy that everything should be free. And of course it's not. But, you know, when you actually think about the longevity, Pinterest has a half-life of at least 3 months. So, you know, if you think about it, if you were trying to get advertising in another means, what would that cost you?
Yes.
So, you know, we need to get people to be realistic about what they're trying to achieve and what it's actually going to cost.
Yeah. What do you think, Chaz, on that? I mean, you know, from your platforms, I mean, you've always said to me you were ROI driven.
Yeah.
Or you were always looking for, you know, when we had a discussion, you were able to say, I can't remember, there was a guy and he saved a certain amount of money. Yeah, there was a guy on Twitter who basically who'd been spending
that was on Twitter,
£2,000 on Twitter,
20 grand
and basically he went on Twitter and got business for free. $20,000 per annum on advertising.
Yeah, what it was, he was spending about 20,000 a year.
Frustrating when it does that.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
Open reach. You need to sort yourself out.
Oh, it's the lack of internet is strangling this country.
Yeah. Sorry. Everything's just froze back again. Technology. I think he was spending about something like 20 grand a year on normal conventional marketing. He had come to the workshops, again, like was said earlier, went away, didn't do anything, but once he did start to apply the learning, he got in a couple of weeks about 2 grand's worth of business. So it does work. think what you mentioned, Vivian, was a very important thing there. Two things really. One is the culture of free, and people are brought up on a diet of free webinars, free this, free that, and they don't value, it devalues everything to do with social media, because people then expect cheap services. And so we don't do any of those free things. We might do the odd free webinar and interview and things, but generally we won't do free workshops for people just to get them in through the door. We always put a minimum cost on, say £25 or something, because then you can upsell, cross-sell people, and they show that they've got a commitment to invest. And that's the key word, investment, not a cost, it's an investment. But yes, return on investment is something that people just don't grasp. And that's because it's very hard to measure. And I think it's also people don't put across how you actually get a return on your investment and manage client expectations. But I've just had feedback from a quote that we put in months ago where people said, oh yeah, you've got a lot to offer and everything, but your costs stop things in its tracks. Well, I've got to follow up on it, but if they actually read the proposal, I went to the extent of showing the percentage increase in traffic to website, the percentage increase in conversions, which no PR marketing agency would have done for them. And if you actually put a monetary value to that increase, it's going to be something like 50 times more than the cost that we put in to set it up and deliver it. But because people don't understand those figures, because it's not explained to them, then people just don't get the return on investment. And also people are looking for a quick return, and we all know that in relationship building you're looking medium to long term.
I think actually,
so
Jazz,
we have to get people talking about investing in social media,
problem
not
for
the
so
cost
many
of
of
it,
us
really.
is we still haven't really tackled the whole concept of customer client education. And I think that's something that we really need to do. And in a blab like this, you might have a chance to be able to do that kind of thing. So I wonder whether it's actually worth writing a white paper or case study or something based on this notion of what needs to be done next. And I think the whole idea of people not valuing things that are free, I've seen that time and again. And they sort of, what's the word I want? I can't think of the word now. Anyway, never mind. Yeah.
I see this all the time about people wanting stuff for free, and you know, and people come to me and say, you know, you'll get some, you'll get some, you know, amplification or something like that, and I just don't, you know, sorry, but my cat has to eat, you know,
exactly.
and free, and I can't put some, you know, free stuff down in front of the cat; it won't eat that.
Yeah.
So.
The best one I heard was, or actually I responded to someone that asked for something for free and you'll get all this exposure, etc., etc. And I said, that's great. Can you just give it to me in an email and I'll send it to the bank, and they'll take that in payment of the mortgage, will they? Do you know what I mean? It's just like,
yeah, but
totally
that's
unreal.
Not my problem. Sorry, because you know, I've still, as you say, when I send my pro bono to the electric company and say, you know, I'll pay you as and when. And in fact, you're very lucky to be able to serve me with electricity.
Yeah. I'm a startup and I'm going to get all my electricity for free. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So in terms of sort of like closing comments, in terms of, you know, as for startups and for small businesses in terms of getting into social selling, what is it that you would recommend that they you know, what kind of comments and summary do you want to provide to them? Jazz, you've frozen.
Start.
Oh, you unfreezing. Okay, so in terms of closing
I think
comments,
I'm frozen. I've got bits of that.
Small
Sorry,
businesses
Tim.
that are watching, and small business leaders that are watching, what put it into a nutshell, what is it that they need to focus on and get out of social selling, and what direction that do they need to go in?
Yeah, I think the first thing is you've got to be on LinkedIn, Twitter, and be able to use those platforms. The second thing is to what your market, your audience is telling you. And third, you've got to have a system for capturing that information to then follow those people up who are showing
when you mean a
interest
system,
in
you mean something like
your
a
product
CRM.
or service.
So I know we're both Nimble users. So.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, great.
Something
Vivian,
like Nimble would be great for people to use. Yes.
Well, I think that people should spend a lot of time listening. Yeah. I think everyone's very good at shaping their message, but actually what you're trying to say about your product and what customers are saying about their needs and their desires and their problems can be really quite different. So I think also quite often people will try you and say, oh, would you like to do this? And I don't respond, or I say no thanks, and they just leave it. And therefore nobody's ever trying to create real and lasting relationships, and as Jazz says, and communities too.
Engagement.
And engagement, absolutely. So I think that, if you're going to do this, you're going to have to be serious about it. It's a long-term strategy, and it's something that has to be done regularly and becomes very much part of your business strategy.
Okay. You mentioned something earlier on about broadcast, and I wanted to come back to it as well, about in terms of what do you mean by broadcast, and what do people, and why is that bad?
Well, it's interesting that people take out the media aspect of social media and ignore the social.
Okay, yeah.
So therefore it becomes a place where I can say, buy, discount, discount, discount. Here I am. This is what I do. This is what you need. And they put out the same messages, and people get really bored with those very, very quickly. So actually, it's not about what I think all the time. It's about what my community is thinking and feeling. So, we have a kind of a rule, which is that 80-20 rule. For every 10 posts, 80% is going to be engagement, retweeting, other ideas, not necessarily about your company, with just 2 messages that are yours. It doesn't have to be exactly like that, but if you want that kind of ratio, that works reasonably well.
Because I see these super duper marketing agencies, and how cool they are at digital marketing, and you go to their Twitter feed, and there may be a picture, say, of them, here we are picking up litter with our t-shirts on of our brand, but it's broadcast.
Yes.
And they're not actually asking a question like, is there a charity that can you think, community, can you think of another charity we could raise money for, or ask for some sort of engagement? It's just that here's a picture, and it's just old-fashioned, throw mud at the wall and hope it sticks.
Yeah. Even
though it's kind of cool because we've got these t-shirts on.
Absolutely. I think it's really, really important to actually start actually making, if you like, friendships. Okay, they're not necessarily the same, although I've got some amazing friends through social media who I've eventually met in real life, So I think people need to kind of open themselves up and actually start to create, as Jazz said, a community on their chosen platform. For one particular organization I work for, they've got a really targeted, they're a scholarship scheme for maths teachers. So there are only couple of thousand at the most. So tell me, what is the point of me promoting that Twitter feed and getting 50,000 followers? Because it's totally irrelevant. However, we've got something like 2,000, and we bump around like that. But the community is so engaged, and they're so interested in what we say that, basically we can get anything that we want retweeted and also have engagement. I get interviews for blogs. I get people suggesting all kinds of things, guest posts a lot, because this community is totally engaged. And then, of course, we use that as the hub, and then everybody is a spoke, and the messages go out from there.
Fantastic. Yeah. Jazz, you got any comments on that? I know that we're into 40 minutes, which is quite a long time, but you've frozen.
Should be in the musical.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you, Vivian. Thanks, Jazz. Hopefully you're on freeze at some time this afternoon. And thanks for participating. That's very fun.
Well, I'm glad you've managed to get your first one off the ground.
Yes, well, great. Thank you.
So if you ever need anything, I'd love to join in again.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Shout.
Great content, and thank you for joining.
Well, thank you. And it was nice to meet Jazz. Tell him.
Jazz, hopefully you're on freeze. Cheers, guys.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you. Bye.